Marcos, my man, the audience, guys,
Seamus.
this is a monumental episode. What is it, Marcos? What is this?
Uh, Triple digits. That
What?
means, yeah, 100 of these rants, raves, reviews. I'm just kidding.
Microbytes, mesologs, macropods. Oh dang!
Oh, was it?
Microbytes, mesologs, macropods. That rolls off the tongue, baby.
Yeah, we're trying to be too cute, or at least I was trying to be too cute. But yeah, I mean, you tallied it up. Is that including
So
all those other ones,
yeah,
or was it
yeah.
100 of just
It's
pure?
100 episodes. Yeah, it's 100 pure macro podcast episodes. But on top of that, there was 16 microbytes, and then there was like 4 mesologs or something like that. So technically, we would be at 120 pieces of recorded content. But in terms of the true podcast, this is the true 100 right here, dude. How's that feel?
Feels like we're still rookies.
Very much so. Very much
Yeah.
so. Well, let's kind of bring it back. Why did we start this thing? Why did we start this thing?
Meal prep on a budget. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, that's how we started it.
That's how we started it.
Honestly, I think, we were just talking about it from this perspective of wanting our other organization to have one.
Yeah.
And we figured that sometimes in a bigger company that it's a lot harder because there's a lot of different opposing ideas of like what to do and how to do it. And we're just like, let's just do something versus just too much on the creative front.
Yeah.
And here we are now. We've had some really fun experiences. The one that we did in person, obviously, like that was super awesome and fun with Jamie French. And
Yeah.
I think it learned a lot. I mean, point in case being like what I'm traveling with right now versus just using my straight up like headset like we did in early episodes for
Yeah.
some of the interviews, right? Like I mean, I have like a nicer mic to hopefully have some better sound quality, better camera, just little things that like again can like hopefully show that we care. I don't know how many people watch or listen or what the difference of those plays look like all the time.
Yeah.
I know that it's and it's a slow growth thing, man. Like we know it's like I don't even think we're like really tapping into that in that perspective. And I know that we want to in due time, but hopefully we then figure out what that like more niche down version of this is. But right now I'm having too much fun with just hearing people have different views on different things and
Yeah.
casual conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just been casual conversation. I know that like we, for the audience listening, like we tried to ramp up the audience. We tried to ramp up social media posting and tried to ramp that up, especially like last year in the summer when a lot of certain things were happening. Like we did like certain things like getting courses out, doing certain social media things, and started ramping up and then starting to realize like what were we doing it for? And I felt like spinning in circles of like, were we doing a podcast to serve the audience and just serve our selfish little itch of having great conversations with people? Or were we doing a podcast because the podcast is the thing that people do to ramp up their business and chase certain things? And I think we kind of fell into that hole and we didn't really realize how deceiving it can be on the backside of like it looks really cool, it looks really fun on the back end, but like for 1 hour's worth of podcast is probably 10 times the amount of work, input, and almost like pretty much like headaches, whether it be like edits, paying someone, having a team, posting, commenting, all these things, and just realizing like, holy shit, social media for business, it's work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, right. God, like I kind of wonder now that you say that how long it does truly take to then create, like get it to like be finalized, even though it's like we do a pretty bare bones version of it. We like kind of
Yeah.
like set it and forget it and try not to edit things. And I guess that's because the overly produced ones are just not like something that draws my attention. I don't know if that's what you like either. Um,
No.
so I think, with that being said, like the total, I mean, maybe not 10 times as much time, maybe like five.
But yeah, it's an input. It's like on our day to day. Like the reason the story around the podcast was you and I. We work for a company. We have weekly meetings, maybe bi-weekly meeting, not bi-weekly. Like we have multiple meetings per week, and part of it was like we were just starting to chat up, you and I, one on one, just because some of our meetings we just wanted a little more intimacy of like having someone to soundboard off of, like just one other person instead of like a whole room, because sometimes that whole room before was a little bit intimidating with some of the people in it, in a sense of like there were hierarchies and you know in our position of managing what we say in front of physicians, certain things, and just making sure that like we just wanted a little more soundboarding, and more casual. And that's what the podcast is, like the macro perspective. And then like what we talk about is so broad. That's why the macro perspective. I mean, obviously we're performance health coaches, online nutrition coaches, and macro was kind of a term on macros, but it just really sticks. We are so curious about so many things, and we just have so many conversations with people that I was like, this is perfect. This is great for now. I love it.
That is a great point. It's like sometimes, like, even if this isn't to serve other people always, like, in my eyes, it serves you and me. And that's the biggest thing that we hope to get out of this. So I think that's a big, like, lesson for people that, are, I wouldn't say necessarily raving fans, but fans, and like they definitely help support this, which we truly appreciate. Um, I hope people understand that it's like it may not always be so polished, and that's intentional because it's really meant to be more of like what's on the mind. And sometimes too, in like the episode that we just recorded before this, like it's the like it's how to make it actually authentically about a conversation. And unfortunately, due to time constraints, we probably only really scratch the surface. It's like you just barely get to know somebody, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to then try to deal with the logistics of scheduling around two, which where like we really want to do that with a bunch of people that have been here before, because
Yeah.
we just feel like we're only getting to know them, and it could be a very surface level conversation. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, like, um, yeah, how can we break down their walls more, our walls more with those people, have more things that are authentically um, ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I would, I mean, like, I mean, a lot like Joe Rogan, "Yeah, you should start a podcast. You should start a podcast." It's like, yeah, because you could just try to find a way to express yourself and your views and your ideas and your thoughts. And um, again, you don't have to try to like aim it one way or the other. It doesn't have to be like quote a politically charged statement. It is literally just you being like, hey, this is what I'm learning right now. I'm excited. I want to just like kind of share it with
Yeah.
somebody in some medium.
Yeah.
This is our way of journaling, realistically.
Realistically, yeah, I think the podcast for us serves on a selfish way multiple things. One on one, a conversation between you and me. I think, dude, having conversations between you and me, like, I felt I've had a lot of growth, a lot of support and accountability just from your end, like from a professional standpoint to a personal standpoint. Like, I call you for just like, yo, how did training go? But then I call you sometimes on like, yo, what do you think about this certain thing? And it's like more of a heavier topic, right? So I love you for that, right? I love you for all that. But then also like, dude, like, yeah, you got a platform, you got a platform. Dude, I really think having the platform has also been a foot in the door for us, because crazy enough, we've had guests in here that, just say between you and me, we only have a few thousand followers on social media, which is probably more or so less people that we know, or within our social circle of people that, we work with, where we get people on the podcast that have close to millions or more, because we're like, hey, I have a podcast. You mind giving me an hour of your time? And sometimes it's just they do that, and that's a selfish thing because I'm like, you're interesting, you know. For example, like the head of, you know, for example, you mentioned Jamie French. She has more than, I don't know,
Yeah, at this
millions
point,
of
it's probably
hits.
grown beyond what when we got to converse with her. And unbeknownst to us, too, the conversation about her story with dealing with Ozempic, we didn't even know that it was about to really change the landscape of how we have to deal with our day-to-day jobs. Quite to that, like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, we didn't really know. So I think that when was that episode? Was that
11 months ago. It was almost a year ago when we did
really?
it. When I was in, yeah, it was a year ago because I was in Vegas. You know, I do my yearly Vegas trip with the family for like a few days, and we
Damn!
did it then, and
Wow,
that was a year ago.
it feels longer than that. Ironically, like it feels like it should have been
It
like 18 months
does.
ago.
I feel like it does, and it's a weird thing because that was our one of our big pods in person. Then we did our 52nd episode in person, and we try to do this in person because I was in Vegas, but it's just logistics, guys, logistics. But we'll be doing those
You
more
had to
so.
hang
But
out with your niece, right?
yeah, I had to hang
Yeah,
out with the nieces. I love
yeah.
those kids, and big party for them this weekend too. But no, the important thing is like, yeah, with the medium, with the podcast, we are able to showcase these people. I think they're just real, authentic, and genuine people with like a real story. And yeah, it sucks we only get like an hour with them because it's like, yeah, we're not like a long format like an Andrew Huberman or a Joe Rogan where it's like, look, be here for 3 to 4 hours and let's really get deep on what you think. And like, you know, but that's not our
Yeah.
platform. We'd love to
Let's
do that, but
science this. Yeah,
everyone that we've had on this pod, what I've realized is even though they have a big audience and all this stuff, they're all people that are chasing the same things too. They've got a busy schedule, they've got their families, they've got everything, and they're out here to just hard working, you know, nose on the table type people kind of thing, you know?
yeah, and everybody brings a completely different vantage point and different ways of approaching something, and there is no right or wrong way. And I think, ironically, one of them, I feel like I kind of let down in terms of like, um, she like lined things out for us to do, and I have yet to still accomplish it. And it's mainly because like I just don't have the desire or drive to really want to create social media content like that. You know, I mean, maybe one day, maybe when I have like less, I'll never have less to do. Maybe one day if it's like the absolute necessity of like how I go about working, you know, it's like I
Yeah.
really, I think part of this too, right, was like how to get more comfortable with speech, right? Enunciating, um, pretending there's somebody on the other side of this listening, even though it's like a conversation between two people, it's a very different cadence. And I would tell everybody that like it's a different skill set and it's really worthwhile coming in and trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Um, and only to now find out, like again, like this is sharpening, um, it's sharpening like that skill set that I really think is highly valuable. And it is like it's a more of like a soft skill, right? I guess it's not really a technical skill, but it's just like it's language and figuring out how to like um, almost like be more persuasive and have the art of a sale. And we've had those people on and they've talked about things and your cadence and what's the like is it MLP or NLP, right? Your neuro linguistic programming and how you're getting these cues and points across like subconsciously, and it's all been really helpful. But it honestly has helped me more so with the in-person interactions that I do so crave. And man, I think since we did have to take that like hiatus and then like kind of recommitting to just doing it this way versus like trying to do it from a business front, um, it it's weird that like I then realized like the part of work that's most rewarding is the in-person stuff. So
Yeah.
again, like I do, I mean, it'd be so sick to then have like the podcast be something that you just always do in person. Because even then,
Yeah.
the cadence and the rhythm and conversation just feels a little laggy, right?
No, 100% laggy from the internet and laggy from
Yeah.
the reality of the situation. But no, like it. So for the work for our work, we're obviously performance health coaches. Our backgrounds in health and wellness, and we coach people, and it's so cool that even though there's so much science to what we do, and like we're X's and O's and 1+1s and zeros and ones, right, Marcos? The really cool thing about it is like, okay, but like, how do I get this person to change? That is the real question. And that's conversation. That's persuasion. And that's showcasing the wisdom of Marcos and Seamus and the other performance health coaches or other coaches out there, not just in health and wellness, but like people that help people change, is you communicate, right? And I think communication is key. This is why I really love the fact that we have a podcast selfishly, but also at the same time, dude, podcasts served me so well because my goodness, when I had to drive to work early in the morning and then get to school and then, have all this downtime driving, right? Not downtime, but like this driving time. Podcasts were so powerful in giving me an outlet of like more education or nuance or wisdom that, like, I love audiobooks. I read books and stuff like that, but it's like it's just something different. You're getting a real life experience in real time, not this condensed thing. You're getting like, what are you really thinking about this right now? And you get like thoughts as they form about a concept,
Yeah, I would say a podcast is like a TV series, whereas a book is like a movie. Like that's like my analogy there, because you want like this depth, the character depth, and that's like the personality behind the show, right?
Yeah.
You're going on this journey with them in a sense, and that's likely the shows that you likely listen to, right? For most people, at least for me. I'm like, man, like I would, again, I don't know, big dreams, I guess. Like, I really like to like sit down conversationally, and recording wise with a lot of the people that I listen to, and then that social relationship that you start to develop is really unique, and it feels like you're kind of part of the story, and then like also we're trying to do it at the same time.
That's why we're getting to these hundreds of episodes, because here's the thing: we show it to the people that we like. I think we could throw this one out because it was a possibility, like the Mark Bell Project. Like, we love that podcast, right? They're in popularity in the health and wellness, fitness, nutrition field. I'd like to sit down with those guys. I think having a brand like ours might help with that, right? Obviously, the biggest one would have to be the Joe Rogan podcast, because that's like the number one podcast of all time.
I think so. I don't know, but I don't know how we would know that per se, but I'd have to imagine. I mean, at least the one that like, I don't know. I mean, Huberman, Atia, I mean, and then other people that he quotes as like, his inspiration. So it's kind of, maybe it's hard to say, but I would have to say like, based on the sheer volume and the likely like millions of views per, that I don't know. I guess we'd have to chat GPT that and see if it give us something. Give us something there.
It gave us This American Life. It gave This American Life is like one of them.
Was it like a true crime one?
Yeah, let's see what else. The top 5 podcasts of all time. Yeah, but like brands and people like that, it's crazy who it is. Hold on. So the Joe Rogan is number 1. Serial, The Daily, the New York Times, Radio Lab, and How I Built This by NPR. So those are the top 5. And I mean, the only one that I know from that, from like a brand perspective, like a face, is like the Joe Rogan podcast. But yeah, there's Andrew Huberman, right? That's a big one. Even people that are not like science or nerds, they know Andrew Huberman. Peter Attia is kind of like that, because everyone has health. Everyone has health, right? Whether it's bad or good, is getting up there. You've got those comedy ones. I mean, I feel like podcasts right now are just like the thing. They've just been the thing for a little bit, but I feel like that's for us, like, where, let's see, what is it, what we're trying to do, Marcos? Like, I think Rachel said it best, our producer, shout out Rachel, is like, we're like a self-development podcast, but what is self-development at the end of the day? You could talk to anyone and it's self-development because it's about developing themselves, right?
I don't know. I think everybody steers towards self-development because they think it's going to. There's that book that has that thing that gives you that that like golden ticket, you know.
Yeah.
And you're just now all of us are striving to figure out what that thing is. That's why supplements exist. That's why medications exist. They think it's a silver bullet and that everything just is rectified as soon as that thing gets done. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we know that's not the case. Certain things will make things easier, but it doesn't have a direct relationship quite yet, right? Think of mechanisms of action. We don't even understand all of them as it pertains to some of the most successful drugs of all time, i.e., the modern anorectics of the world. But what we know is that it's leading into a big change. Again, that was basically a year ago with Jamie French when she talked about like her story of it, and she tried her story however many months before, right? And then I'd only really known about it gaining popularity. I mean, I feel like it all kind of came out around the AI boom, right? Does that
Yeah.
sound right? Or was it kind of was
Yeah.
it kind of one and the same? Were we talking about that in 21
We
and
were talking
21?
about it in 21 in like meetings. I remember being at Synergenics like for a few months and like going right into these conversations, and I was like, what? Like, this sounds insane. Like, I was looking at the statistical analysis and like the studies, and I was like, this is insane. Like, what? You know? And like already like seeing it in like our pharmaceuticals and formulary, I was like, this is insane.
Yeah. Um, and we've posed or we've created some of that questioning, right? Where it was,
Yeah.
what changes when this changes the landscape of things? How do companies adapt? Because, everything in life is ultimately an energy exchange, right? You view, currency is really just like something we place value on that would be our own energy being put out for it, right?
Yeah.
I had to go spend $10 at Chipotle right now so I can have some energy to eat, to give me energy to refuel myself to go to train tomorrow morning, right? I give my own time and energy to make money to then pay for the thing.
Yeah.
So I honestly, funny enough, that'd be cool to get that guy on. He's a cryptocurrency guy, but he's the one who really kind of boiled it down to like, as soon as my crypto isn't really doing well and pull it out and I put it into energy, because at the end of the day, everything really is energy. And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
I forget his name, but I will definitely not take credit. I'll give credit where credit is due. In terms
Yeah.
of how he talked about that, I was like, yeah, that really is it, right? Like making more money doesn't matter to me, just going and putting more energy towards making money,
Yeah. And having
right?
like the right levers and things like that. No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
leveraging your highest valued skill to make as much as possible in the least amount of time,
yeah.
right? It's like for me, like the things that I'm doing now has a little bit of a sunken cost to it because I've done it for so long. I have to kind of keep doing it because it's the thing that gives me the most money for per unit time, right?
Yeah,
So
100%. You've honed that skill in, and it's like, there's wisdom there and experience and things like that.
and
No, that
and
makes a lot of sense.
and I think that like I genuinely don't think I'm that great at it. Like I'm good at it, but I don't think I'm great by any stretch of the imagination.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing that distinguishes you from why you are so great, because there aren't that many people that are good at what you do. I don't think there are many people that are good at what you do. You're one of the
Well,
folks that are top, because like you don't. How do I say this? Like when you hear a nutrition coach or online performance coach, who do you think of? Like it's such a weird like who's like the number one person for nutrition? Like I mean, there's one person that we can think of, um, like Lane Norton, right? He's like someone that we look up to as a big brand. He's been on the top, but like in between that, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's a household name? I don't know if there is a household name. It's kind of weird. Kind
I
of
don't
a
know. Like if I go like if Lane is like the precursor, Now, you know what? The precursor would probably be a Tia in the sense of
Mm-hmm.
health, and and then
Mm-hmm.
he would defer to Lane as the
As like the
human
nutrition
nutrition
expert.
expert. And
Yeah.
then Lane would then be looking at people such as like Menno Henselman and other like science-backed individuals. And then now I'm seeing Menno Henselman getting flack from other people on social media saying that he's not citing studies properly or whatever. I'm pretty sure this dude literally just looks at literature and research and constantly posts and tries to give like an unbiased opinion about what is literally written on in the articles. Um, and again, like some people can probably interpret science wrong, right? And then there's also study biases and all those other things that go on.
Yeah.
So I don't know, honest dude, I'm fucking skeptical of a lot of shit these days. You
Same.
know what I mean?
Dude, honestly, that's why I don't give like this is why I don't give a rat's ass about like what the right protocol is, because like it comes back down to what you and I talk about. I'm like, uh-huh, that's cool. That's a great study. Great, awesome. Um, how are we doing this for you? Yeah, the question comes back to like, so what would you like to do? Like what do you feel
Mhm.
is good for you at this time? Like I don't really care. This is why like I felt like the last 16 months with you, especially in our PN2 and in our NBHWC, that concept of caring less has honestly saved my butt so much, because I don't have to know jack shit about much of the stuff that keeps coming out, because nutrition sciences changes every day. Nutrition this, new thing
Yeah.
that. I had to literally read like 6 papers on a new substance called urolithin A, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like this is great. I've read the 6 papers, but like the outcomes this patient is looking for, they're already executing it with this, this, and this, and I like had to show them
Is
like
is
you're look
ergolithin A something that you kind of pair with methylene blue? Is that like the
it's a
super?
mitochondrial density thing. It's a mitophagy
Okay.
thing. It's a super like it's like your marginal gains. But when you look at the studies and the way they're conducted, and like the way when you start thinking differently, guys, I'm like trying to get to the audience, like you start understanding like you're right, Marcos. Like when someone says blanket statement, 12% increase, 17% increase in endurance and muscular strength, like all these things, and then you look at the background of it, you're like, oh, but this was in a non-trained individuals that are
Yeah.
55 years old plus, and they've never worked out before. And then like the person that's asking about it is like a high performing elite athlete who is already on mitochondrial things. I'm like, you're telling me you want to put an extra $125 a month into a product that might get you marginal gains, you know, might get you, but it wasn't tested in your thing. So, I mean, these are the things that we deal with day to day, guys, and that's why we like the podcast, because it's more of a casual thing. It's like it doesn't have to go deep into this like deep route of like black and white, because life's not black and white. There's these protocols, there's these things, and all this stuff. But Marcus, I wanted to shift this here a little bit, bring it back to the pod. 100 episodes now. We've had some great guests. We've talked about Jamie French, like the Ozempic, getting some people on here that are like sales guys. In this 100 episodes, we've had some great guests. What have been some of your big favorite topics or favorite guests that we've had on in the last almost 2 years that had an impact on you?
Hmm. Every one of them had an impact. I think that's the beauty of conversation. Everybody had notes of something that I went and then applied, which I think is a really good reason to, again, try to just get random people on so you can learn something you didn't know before.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. Uh, do do do.
By the way, for everyone listening, the topic we're talking about is like GLP-1s and weight loss drugs. We've literally had like, I'm looking at it, like 4 episodes that were on just the GLP-1s. That's how big it is in our like in our day to
It's
day.
the
Like this is
it's the.
how it impacts our day to day.
I mean, literally, can't have a conversation without talking
Yeah.
about it.
I
Um,
would say, yeah, go ahead, continue.
man, okay. So I didn't even realize Ariel was like one of the first five to be on here. But obviously, like Ariel, like has gone through a massive transformation since we had her on back in what date was that? 3/21/23,
Yeah, she had a major, major transformation.
doing things. And I remember her conversation. That was just like You're like, this is one of my really good friends' girlfriends. Like, I mean, granted, that's not how you said it, but like, you're like, kind of said that. You kind of did. You can't lie.
Yeah.
And then Jessica with like the raising healthy eaters. So again, there was strategies for helping with foods, DP, obviously the mindset thing, kind of manifestation, doing that. Keely with the sexual healing, as we so called it. We had, things with jujitsu, because that's like definitely more in your world. Man, Nick Newell was just that, the food science and the psychology behind food. And then Mike, and he sold me on his product. So
He's a good
I,
seller. But hey, there was Mike was great because like there was that fact that like he had a product and we were kind of in that right time where we were trying to utilize a product and service that would maximize scaling relationships, that is, being able to text faster. One of our coworkers is doing this right now. He's like, dude, I'm getting 28% open rate on my text. Well, it's like, yeah, we've known that before. Like 5% of emails get opened, 17 to 26% of texts get responded to. Like, come on, like we knew this before, but now people are like implementing it. It's like, you guys haven't realized this, like that's. But it's just like you have to figure out like certain things in due time. um
and I would even venture to say that what percentage of people use an iPhone in the US?
Dude, I don't know, probably more than half.
If you find a way to utilize iMessage as the way that you communicate in the mass thing, you actually have the highest open rate. Guaranteed.
See, that's a conversation for the hard part is I think Apple doesn't like to play well with others. I think that's why a lot of these like social platforms or like these social texting platforms, you get a green thing. You get a green text.
Apple's just smart about how they deal with capitalism, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But that's my own personal experience. Like, I don't like there being, there's that guy who makes the joke. He's like, what's the most like racist thing is green bubbles. Everyone would be hating on the green bubbles,
Yeah.
and he's like that. There's like people are more prejudiced against that than anything else. That like this is the most divisive thing in the U.S. is what he said. And I was just like,
Dang, bro.
that.
I remember
So,
someone said like, oh, you got green text? Ew. And like, it's like guys that have green text don't get dates or something like that. And it's like, he was like, my girl didn't like me until I got the iPhone. I was like, dang, it's that divisive. You know what? I will say, dude, we've had a plethora of guests. I mean, we've had people that we know, people that like, we just reach out to randomly. There was people that we like reached out to. I was like, how did that happen? But I definitely would say that one of the episodes that for me just kind of like off the bat right away was just so good. I really just loved speaking with like Coach Dominic Mateo. He was our this is episode 84. He was our precision nutrition, basically the lecturer that we went to all the time. I think he just has so much wisdom. And he was one of my favorite episodes because like in our day to day, we didn't really know him because we looked up to him as like a like lecturer. He lost like 84 pounds plus. He had his own health journey. He like does all these things that are helping people out
yeah.
with the precision nutrition thing. One of my other favorites was Basma Albiel. Like we just kind of met her online. Like she was like at a nutrition coaching thing. What I liked about her was she was just so real about like, I think we talk about social media and marketing, but she was just so honest about like it's constantly changing. Like the landscape of social media is constantly changing, and that you just have to be kind of accepting of that and realize that like if you're trying to do it for your business, you have to know these strategies all the time. And she gave us the truth. She gave us the truth and like gave us the reality of it. And then one of the bigger ones that I think like every time we could go into it, and I think they're just like a great speaker, obviously is going to be Rudy, um, our direct boss, because I feel like every time I have a conversation with Rudy, we're learning a lot. I just want to say this out loud. I really think Rudy's trying to make more Rudies right now. Like I feel like I've just been getting more direct training with him and more time with him, and he's making us go through some uh, more training right now in our position, right, Marcos, with like the genomics understanding and all these things. And I think what he's trying to do is really teach more people and empower them in their position so that he can like, you know, we could do our jobs just a lot better. Just do our jobs a lot, because he's so knowledgeable and well spoken, and really represents like what health looks like at that peak level.
Yeah, if I were to emulate anybody, it would definitely be him. But that's also because I had Rudy in my pocket for the beginning part of my career, like in like, and we'll call it the health coaching element versus just nutrition coaching. Um, but I mean, man, mm,
So many. The
I
most
mean,
popular episode we have is obviously the sexual healing, Sexpert Keely Rankin. I mean, sex sells, guys. Sex sells, you know. And if you're gonna have someone talk about sex, you know, especially sex in the concept of like sexual healing, and having conversations around sex, I think is yeah, it's a powerful episode. You know, it's gonna be a powerful episode.
mm, dude, that's just so tough. I feel like the one person that was like, I really feel like the person that like stood out to me the most is Chrissy amongst all these people, with the ability to like the way she talks about things and make it seem so effortless and easy is like truly showing somebody having like master of their craft. And then getting the opportunity to reconnect with her later on as like the part two. Didn't record it. It was more of like an audit on how to do things because you weren't able to come on that day. I think that was the day you got stuck in traffic, or something came up with you.
Something like that. No, I think
You
no.
know,
I had you know what it was? I had a couple appointment, and it was just way longer. Like it came on last minute, and I was like, huh.
mm,
I thought
yeah,
this would be done in 3 hours. It was a 4 hour ordeal, and I was like, I
yeah,
am not
yeah,
able to make that.
yeah. And so like that was like the first time where you hear and see all these people talk about, quote, like building the thing, doing the thing, buy this course and then this is what will happen. And then
Yeah,
it was like, I'm starting this thing. And then I saw where they were like three months later. And it was like, look at this growth. And I was like,
dude.
really? It's like, but then it was just like, I know it's hard and it sucks, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it. And I'm just like, ah. And same thing. I was like, to me, it was like calling me out in the sense of like, damn, when everything was growing, as we were trying to grow these things and things were cooking in business, it was a matter of just doing the things, and it was never perfect. It was like, you know what I mean? It was just there. And that's, I think, the biggest takeaway. And it was the message behind everybody else, but then to see somebody else do it, and they obviously hate. I think what it showed me was like, it's always easier to do it for somebody else, right? Like if we did a Cinegenics only podcast and that was our only thing, it would be detail oriented. It would be like boom, 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 boom. We'd have to bring it to the board. Here's the topics. This is what's going on. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Right.
It would
Um,
be so epic. I mean, there is a reason we got the Cenogenics guest series on as well. If you guys have been following, that's gonna be like a 12 to 15 episode arc, and we still have some
but,
more episodes to showcase for
but,
that. You know,
but that's the thing too, is like, these are people that are just in like the colleague circle, or I guess they would be, I mean, what would you, what do you call one of the positions you work for? Like, they're not really your boss, but they're not really a
so they're the
superior. It's like,
captain.
it's like the captain of the team. They're driving the ship a bit more than we are. We're definitely like, run point, whatever that.
Yeah, we
We're
run
manning the
point,
sails.
and
Um,
then the coordinator is like, you know, the one that just keeps everything afloat, right? Um, Yeah, I don't know. It's really weird because Doctor Fadul, who we're gonna get on the pod as well, he was like saying like he's like, you know, I was like, oh well, I bow down to the physician. He's like, never bow down to the physician. You're on the same level with them.
yeah.
Obviously, they're the physician, they're the captain, but there's a respect that goes both ways. If you need to call them out, call them out. And that was like a moment that I felt so empowered from the chief medical officer to tell me that, because I do that. I give like my inputs to physicians, and they respect it, and they go like, actually, thank you for being here and saving me on that, because I didn't see that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's different. Like, I work for a very tenured one, and so do you, versus ones that are new and coming in. So it's like we have a different set of eyes. They're like learning the ropes of like the thing, and we kind of know better because of our tenured positions, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so it's like we have like this unique thing where those like it does feel more of like a, again, like level playing field with like the newer physicians that come in regards to like how they view us versus the ones previously. Like again, it was just like different. Like again, we're constantly kind of changing what we're doing. So, um,
Yeah.
but like I feel like when Dr. Camper came on, got to know him more, got to hear his story, got to hear that, like that was, all the ones with all of our physicians were, again, like I feel like those are really big key takeaways. And again, like this is not literally me trying to like sound biased towards the organization we work for. It's like the people that get to come in and like actually like build that thing, like they're taking a risk. It's a risk to try to do something that is still in its infancy stages, like longevity care. So again, they could just be, quote, working at Kaiser, making like 300K a year and just be kind of cool, pay off the loan and just do things and just kind of coast. But they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, like they're motivated to try to like be on the cutting
Do
edge and the
something different.
frontier and do something different.
Yeah.
So I really
Yeah.
do admire, I mean, those people. Again, like that's why it's hard to say like picking um the stand,
Picking
like
an
again,
episode
the
is
type
like,
of
yeah, picking one episode is hard because each episode it's very special in its own right. Like especially with this like
so
Cinegenics guest series because it's like going back to what you're saying, like I want to prove a point with the Cinegenics guest series and prove a point about social media and podcasts. The point
mhm.
was look at like these downloads, look at these views, look at these eyeballs, look at this. And the reason we got to 100 episodes between Marcos and I was just we did this every week. We didn't I mean, there was a crazy time where we were recording like 5 times per week for some reason. I don't know what happened, but we just record once a week, which is like an hour and a half of our time at most, right? Um, we talk about what's upcoming, what's pandering around, what's important to us, and what the host is on. But if a company did that, like Synergenics, and showcase these numbers, showcase that, what are we doing? And what it is that I've truly found out, and I think you said it best to me. I think it was like a 8 months ago. You're like these parasocial relationships. You are spending time with someone and having someone in your ear, and they're
Mhm.
giving you expert, nuanced advice that you literally can't find anywhere else until you dig into that content, you dig into that business, and then at some point you've been playing it long enough and you go, you know what? I like these guys, I trust these guys, I go to them, instead of just giving them my time, that energy concept, I'm going to give them another form of energy. I'm going to give them finances, and now I'm going to work with them, whether it's a little bit more intimately or it's going to be something else. And it's a matter of investment. And I think what the podcast has done, Marcos, especially the guest series, is you position yourself a little bit better. Like I said, you position yourself with the platform, position yourself as an expert, and you position yourself as a parasocial relationship with the consumer. If you were selling a product, for example.
We're just storytelling,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
This is it's our story, it's our things, and let's just say that our careers take turns. Could be for the better, for the worse, whatever. You probably would still do this because it's like, all right, cool. You have something different and novel to talk about, some new
yeah,
things, a new world, some new endeavors, and it's kind of cool, right?
yeah,
Um, that I think that's also part of it too. What started as this idea of, again, just documenting some stuff. It's turning into the potential of that, you know. Um, and who knows, right? Like here we are going on almost 2 years of doing this. So I mean, we're again, what is that like? Basically an episode a week, right? Is basically what it's turning into. 52 would be like that would be an episode a week. So yeah, we front loaded some of the stuff, and we then realize what's realistic and what we have to also hold again. Like we stopped, and then we had to get back into like holding ourselves accountable to do it, you know.
yeah,
And then as it stands right now, there's some other like projects that I think then help us get back into that groove even more. So
yeah.
I have to say that again, I think with looking at the spreadsheet, I'm really proud of what we've accomplished. And I think that's kind of the coolest thing as like,
Yeah.
man, So many people, so many stories, overcoming obstacles. Another one stuck out to me that like I had to like read the list. That's why I can't remember everybody. I'm like, it didn't. I remember the conversation, but I need to see the name to remind it. But George's conversation was super engaging.
George
Um,
Bryant.
mhm.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
mind of George.
yeah, and I mean, but again, it's not that I forgot it. It's just like there's just so many conversations. It's like
You
I don't
have to
know.
be there.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think
You
the
have to
biggest
be there
thing,
kind of thing.
but I think the biggest thing is that like the the crazy thing is like I don't know if a lot of people have this ability or not, but like I can see the name and I can remember that conversation. I don't even have to go back and watch the video. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I probably should because that's like probably good to get tabs on yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not doing this like a seasoned professional like trying to like get my act together, right? I'm literally thinking of this as like that's like. Do you ever watch this TV series twice, Seamus?
Only one I could think of is Supernatural and Smallville.
So you have, but you don't
Yeah,
typically.
yeah. I
Like you've
usually
gotten
don't,
everything
but
you've gotten everything out of that you possibly extract out of it. Like nothing will beat the actual
yeah.
moment, right? So like
Yeah,
same thing
yeah.
here. It's like I remember that. It's like man, there was something about the energy there. You know, you just have to do it, and that's again why like Jamie's episode is probably the one that is like the the highlight of like what I want it to become. How could I get all those people on that list
Yeah.
to come out to a little
Do it in
rinky
person.
dinks, yeah, some little
Yeah.
fucking podunk rinky dink studio instead of it being in this capacity, right?
That's the goal, right? Be able to have a pod studio in Vegas. People like flying into Vegas. It's cool. Coming for a weekend, do a pod with us. Maybe a little sit down dinner. Call it a day. That's the
What,
goal. That's the goal, man. To get the finances to that level.
what would be even sicker, though, in all honesty, is not only getting people to come in because they want to, but also being able to afford to bring them in.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
You know what I
hey,
mean? Like,
yeah,
hey,
like, hey, what's your time for the weekend? Let me pay you. Our audience wants to listen to you. Come in, pay them, pay their flight, pay their hotel, and that's
mm-hmm.
that's a sick goal. That's I know because I remember reaching out to some people for podcasts that were like bigger names, and it's quite funny that some of these people that I reached out to they have a great brand, but I know, and this is the weird thing about our field, Marcos, and I'm not trying to talk shit about anyone, but it's like you get to know what's behind the scenes, and you realize some people are just they're textbook they're textbook. They know the shit textbookly, but they don't understand how to actually get fucking high performance results. Sorry for the language, but like that's why when I say like even though you say you're good, I know you're one of the best because people understand a textbook and they have like a cert, a degree, but they're nothing because you have this plethora of tenure and evidence, right? What I'm trying to say though is like I try to reach out to this person who textbookly had, killed it. He's like, oh yeah, I charge this much, and I'm like, all right, we got to get to that point where we charge people. We got to get to the point where where we pay people to come on, and I've heard as high as $10,000 to just get on an hour podcast for some people, which is insane for a podcast. So like these podcast circuits that have bigger audiences than us are making money. Their business is making money where they have a technically it's a marketing budget, right? It's a marketing budget, at the end of the day.
That's a good way of putting it for sure. Definitely is a
Yeah.
marketing budget because, I mean, nothing sells better than the authentic human connection and the story. Again, like all
Yeah.
brands are more so creating an identity around some sort of story.
Yeah.
Like you can think of Flux as that too. Ex Reebok CrossFit shoe designer leaves and creates his own brand of footwear. It's a
Yeah.
story, right?
It's a story.
Um, I don't know what Airwave's story is, but I think they sent it in an email. I just bought it because I want to start biting stuff
Sleep
when I'm
better.
lifting. No,
Oh, dude.
I got the performance
Yeah, I
one
got the
first.
I have the sleep one. I have the sleep one, but I'll get the performance one because I've been doing like a nasal one while I run, but I'm like I do want to bite something when I lift. I don't know. It's like a weird feeling.
I,
Like I want to
yeah,
bite something.
I'm trying to see if I'm really am leaking energy or if it can help me align my jaw better and then fix my posture a little bit. So,
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's a story there for me. See if it leads to some improvements. I'll be jazzed.
But hey, let's do
Then,
this. We're coming up on an hour, so I want to do this.
yeah.
Where do you see the macropod going? Where would it hit 100? What That's a goal. The goal is to get to a point financially where you fly people in, have the pod studio, and have a budget to like, schmooze some folks. That's a great goal. But in the interim, what else do you like to see of the pod, man? Who else would you like to get on here? Any dream guests? Anything else you'd like to see from the platform?
Hmm. I don't know if there's a dream guest at this phase. I just think it's a matter of just asking enough. You know what I mean? So I don't feel
Yeah,
like there's like, again, I think just positioning the offer to be enticing
yeah,
enough and being persistent and, you know,
yeah,
never taking no as an answer. So I don't think there's like that person because no one comes to mind. I mean, dude, like, I don't know, like Elon Musk, you know what I mean? Let's just say someone that like literally probably would be impossible. That would be sick, you know? But I don't think
yeah.
it's impossible.
I'm
I
in
still don't even
agreement.
think it's impossible. I
I
still
don't think it's
think it's,
impossible. I think we can get him. Yeah, I think we get him. I think for me, like, I love what you said. Like, getting the podcast back to a point where it's we have it there consistently posting, which is what we're doing. But get it to the point where in alignment, not misalignment, in alignment with the cadence that we're doing, but now building it as a business in alignment that then allows us to pay people to come on if they do have a charge. If they do have a charge. And
yeah.
then growing the brand in that sense. But then the big one, I do have a guest that I'd like to that there I think I have like a fucking like I got like a guest spreadsheet of dream people. I'll just give like the top three, like numero uno for me, and just top off the bat. I'm like Tim Ferriss. You gotta get the man. You gotta get the man that like, the 4 hour man. I like him. Shoot, we gotta get Lane up in the
Surprisingly,
house.
he's not on your wish list here on the spreadsheet that Rachel has.
That's weird. That's weird. It should be like the number one guy. And then Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins would be sick. These are just my personal like. I
Also
like Tim
not
because
on your list here,
what
bro.
the fuck is so weird. That's so weird, Rachel. Like put that on the guest list. But
uh,
I mean, for sure, like Tim would be epic because I think Tim was the guy that like in terms of podcast, he loves the experiments. Like he made me think about life differently and makes you think about things in the inverse or look at it from a different dimension and lens. And that I was like, I really respect him for that. And I've read all his books. Lane, obviously, just because that's more of a career thing. Like like he makes me think about my decisions about like uh, my day-to-day relationships with people and their nutrition a lot differently. And then obviously Tony Robbins, because like Tony Robbins is the man, like just like I just love that stuff. So that's me selfishly. So that's what I kind of see for the future of the pod,
Tony
man.
Robbins is your idol. One
He's
of.
not one. He's like one of. He's like one of. I just like the guy. I just like the guy.
Is it? Yeah. I don't know. I don't. I don't know if I have anybody that's on like a Mount Rushmore of people because I don't know if I hold anybody in that high of regard anymore. As weird as that sounds, I think
Elon
everybody has
Musk.
a. Even him, I don't think he's on my Rushmore. I'm just thinking like that would be again. I'm just going after the richest man in the world. Why would he give me the time of day? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so. Like I go again. Like so. I don't. I couldn't place four people because I think everybody has a story.
Dude, everyone has a story.
I
So
think
we'll
everybody
take
has a
them all.
story that needs to be heard.
Yeah.
I would much rather do interviews with nobodies, quote unquote, like
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, so that person feels valued
Yeah.
and they can go share that with other people saying like, man, these guys are really cool. They brought me in, they asked me questions about my health journey or overcoming whatever obstacle that was. And I don't know why that's
Yeah.
like, again, like, I think I've talked about that like over and over again, but it like, I'm gonna tell you this. I got like an email from Josh yesterday, and it was like regarding the nonprofit, and like, do I just dissolve it? Like, is there a point? Like, did I just, again, like, was that another one of my 2023 endeavors that I wasted money on?
It's a lesson.
But it's not. I didn't feel it that way. I was like, I'm still attached to this thing. It hasn't done anything
Yeah.
yet, but I'm still attached to it because I think that like that's like what I want to continue to try to position,
I
right?
think there's an importance to that. I think there's an importance to. I had a conversation with someone the other day that he's like, "Oh, you used to draw," and he's like, "Do you do anything like that anymore?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Do it again. Um,
Oh,
keep keep doing that thing, even if it's a sketchbook that you just keep around and you do, because it's developing qualities about yourself that you don't usually do. That's why I love the podcast, even if it doesn't get to the goal of getting the Mount Rushmore, even if it doesn't get to the goal of
yeah,
schmoozing the guests in Vegas. I don't. At the end of the day, what I care about is like what you said. I care about having real, authentic people with genuine experiences to come on, and then we talk about what we mastered, in the areas we're experts in, or just what we're curious in at the moment.
yeah. So again, like, I just, I don't think there's like, I can't give you a top four because I think, again, like, everybody needs to be there. I think, no, I really, I genuinely, like I was saying about like nonprofit land, is like, I do feel like there's always, again, like you mentioned that, like that pull. Why are there things that you're constantly drawn to? Why, like, it's still in your head, like, even
Yeah,
though it's not maybe blowing up or doing that. So
yeah,
um, when I thought about that again, I'm like, I'm wrestling with an ultimatum here because technically that bank account is just getting drained $16 a month just to exist. What would
yeah.
you do with $16? Is it better
Yeah,
served elsewhere? But I'm keeping this thing
yeah,
alive because I do feel so passionately about, there is something that can make a change with, and it may even change the name in the future. Like, I'm not married to the name. I'm married to the mission, and the mission
yeah,
is to get people started on their health journeys even earlier. And like we
yeah,
said, when we were really thinking about it, and it circles back to these 5 pillars every freaking time, man. What are the
yeah.
5 things that we view that people need to be successful in to really, quote, win the game of life? Do you remember our 5 pillars, Seamus? Because I sure as hell do.
It's gonna be food, fitness, finances, focus, and family. That's that's it. And I mean, I'm be honest with you, we should just roll out that six because the reason it is, it's just in the nonprofit. You just said faith. Um, Dude, faith is as
I
much
know.
as important as the other five, but that's only because we're just part of the nonprofit. But if you were thinking all six, like,
Yeah,
dude, those are the most powerful things in terms of a person's deep health. That, like, you work on that. Did you work on those 5 to 6 things every single day? I
yeah.
think you'll be a good human being. I think you'll be a good human being.
And I honestly, I think we could probably have faith in there because it's like, while it is something I want to like incorporate into schools, I mean, faith is, it's not me. It's like, oh yeah, the word God is in there, so they got rid of the Pledge of Allegiance. It's like, it's not like you're saying
What?
God is like this Christian God. It's just God. God is whatever it is that you want to make it to believe. I don't care if it's, Abraham or Allah or, God from Christianity or whatever sect of, some other spinoff somewhere. It doesn't matter. Like, faith, belief in something bigger than ourselves, right? And this is coming from a
Yeah.
very non-spiritual guy. Everybody else that listens, right? Like, I do believe in some sort of like faith. It's good to have that. I have faith that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning. I believe that that is the case. I believe that everything I'm doing right now is to make it so that tomorrow is, again, something that I'm really excited to go tackle. I know you're the same
Yeah.
way, but those six, I mean, the core 6 things are what really drives health, and that is really us in a nutshell, right? We wrestle with
That's what
each
we
one of
do
those things, right? Right.
every
We
day.
had to take a break from doing this shit because we needed to worry about our finances just a little bit more, right? We're going to go try to make sure our bag is secured, y'all, quote unquote, right? Um, I mean, you're about to usher in having another woman in your life with your last name here very soon,
dude.
right?
Dude, I know, right? It's very much around the corner. That's the family aspect, right? And right after that, dude, Adam called this out. I'm gonna fucking tell Adam. I know you're wearing your shirt, but like he called it out. He's like, "How long you been with your lady?" 8 years. And he's like, "Okay, cool. So you just asked to marry her?" I was like, "Yeah, I just asked to marry her." And this was like a few months ago or something like that. He goes, "Okay, cool. You've been simmering." And he goes, "Okay, cool. It's just gonna pop off now." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Marriage, house, kids, all are happening within like an 18-month time frame." And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, bro, you've been fucking simmering for 8-9 years. It's happening now. Like, and I was like,
Yeah.
and he called it, and I'm like, it's happening. It's all happening.
It's like, yeah. And it's, yeah, those other things, the things that have been like part of your main core, like your food and your fitness, your faith, right? Now you're having the other. I mean, I would almost wonder if like you position this in like some sort of hexagonal shape, and then the pull of each of them. Like there's three that happens when you're a little bit more on the single side that take a little more focus, and I would bet it's food, fitness, and finances, right? And then the pull to the other side, like those other food, fitness, and finances still matter, but then there's this new draw to family, faith, and focus, right? Because
Yeah.
like I almost feel like those ones are, again, not mutually exclusive. There's overlap to them, but they do pull more in different phases of your life. So
Yeah.
welcome to the other
I
side here
think
very very soon, bro.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think the best way to do it is, I think PN or like someone else had like a wheel of life thing where it's like those 6 things that we just kind of talked about are similar, where they,
mm,
out of 0 through 10, 0 is the middle, and then each hexagon part or whatever that
yeah, yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
and so it's like you draw it out, and then you take the outline of it, and it's a wheel, but it's a wheel that's jagged. So when it rolls like weird. Like it's almost like a domino on one side, but then it's a wheel on the other. And it's like a weird. It's like scrumping a piece of paper and rolling it. It doesn't roll like a perfect wheel, right? And the whole point of your deep health or what we're trying to get to is round out the edges so that it can become a wheel like that can roll. And I think, yeah, you're right. I'm developing that family faith side, all that other side. But dude, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest, man. Dude, much love to you, dude. I love you, brother. Like, I honestly say this. Like, we spend. I think your wife called it out. It's like you and Seamus spend more time with me. Like, you spend more time with James than, because like we've talked every day. We've made a podcast. We fucking planned a bunch of things. We were in business together. We worked together. And it's just like, dude, like it's a
Yeah.
100 episodes. It's a monumental moment. So I do want to like showcase that for like a moment. Like, yo, we did that. I want to take that win. I want to take that achievement. And like, yeah, we're still gonna keep cracking
St-
it, bro.
Still cracking. I mean, we're just barely starting to juice this damn thing. We're still, I mean, all it takes is that one moment, and I'm super appreciative of you embarking on this with from our very first episode to what we've done now. The patience that you have with me sometimes not being in the mood to do episodes, and basically like calling me out, says, yeah, you'll be in better mood once you like actually start talking, and it's generally true. Um, there's a lot of bandwidth, um, then this it does take a lot, and I think yeah, I'm super appreciative, man. And who would have thought that all it was that initial moment of me going to San Francisco with you to have that initial like interaction. As I don't think if I mean, truth be told, if we never had that like first face to face, this probably wouldn't exist. So we do owe that happening, and I think it's because we are so similar yet so different that makes the conversations continue to be something I,
Yeah,
again, super appreciate and look forward to. And
yeah,
find, yeah, everybody else listening and made it this far, like find a few good people in your life, because they'll take you a while, they'll take you a ways. Um,
yeah,
and then and I'm sure everybody else can say that they may or may not have experienced this. Every 5 or so years, there's going to be a few people kind of moving on to the next phase, and people you have to really work hard to kind of continue to connect with, which I don't think we'll have that problem because we've built this thing, and we'll be like, hey, you just want to record an episode like old times at some point.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and I will say, like, people I will call probably for the rest of my life are you, my cousin Michael, my best friend from high school Michael, my Zach, Adam, Josh, like these people that again like are going through these different phases with me. And shoot, I mean, there's a lot more people, but for other people, sometimes I feel like I don't want to bother them. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? There's like people like you want to just like chalk shop. You're just enjoying conversation with, and there's
Talk
just people
shop,
like,
soundboard. Yeah.
yeah. So
I love
I
it,
don't know.
man. Yeah, dude. 100 episodes. Let's celebrate
episodes
it.
done. Now the
Did
next
it.
episode 150 is we got to get absolutely diced and stage ready, so that people think we know where we're going.
I know exactly. Then now we're really
a year from now we're gonna do that in a bodybuilding competition that we're usually, hey, by the way, there's one in Vegas. Yeah, that'll be 150.
We'll be there. We'll be there.
Kidding.
Well, guys, I hope you've liked. For those that have been listening since numero uno, or just have supported in and out, or just hey, you're starting to like us. Great. Welcome to the show. I think we'll got more to go on, and there's high hopes, and there's a lot of things that we'll be doing. But we appreciate you, and give the episode a like, comment, share. And, episode 100, guys. Thanks so much.
Give us some feedback. Tell us what we need to do next.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye, guys.